I thought being the family's ATM was bad enough, but I never imagined they'd literally steal the roof over my head to throw a party. My name is Jennifer Blakes, and for 29 years, I've been the family problem solver. While my younger sister Stephany was building her Instagram following and living off sponsored smoothie posts, I was pulling 70-hour weeks at Morrison & Associates, Chicago's most demanding consulting firm. Every month, I'd wire money home to keep everyone comfortable, never asking questions, never expecting gratitude. The call came on a Thursday evening. I was reviewing quarterly projections in my downtown office when my laptop chimed with an incoming FaceTime from home. Mom's face filled the screen, practically glowing with that dangerous excitement she got when she'd done something she thought was clever. "Jennifer, sweetheart," Ruth's voice was sugar-sweet, "we have the most wonderful news about Stephany's wedding." I leaned back in my chair, already sensing trouble. Mom only used that sing-song tone when she wanted something big or had done something I wouldn't like. "What's going on, Mom?" "Well, you know how Stephany's been planning this dream wedding to Christopher. The venue alone is $30,000, and with the flowers, the dress, the catering." She waved her hand dismissively. It was getting so expensive. My stomach tightened. How expensive are we talking? Dad's face appeared beside Mom's, wearing that jovial expression he always put on when delivering bad news like it was a gift. "Don't worry, honey. We found the perfect solution for Stephany's wedding budget. We sold your little apartment downtown." The words hit me like a physical blow. "You... what?" "The downtown apartment," Mom chirped as if she'd just announced a promotion. "We got an excellent price for it. More than enough to cover everything Stephany needs for her special day." I stared at the screen, my mind reeling. "That's my apartment. My name is on the deed." "Well, technically yes," Dad said, his tone suggesting this was perfectly reasonable. "But you're never there anyway, and Stephany needs this for her special day. You're always traveling for work." Stephany's face suddenly pushed into frame, radiant with excitement. "Jen, isn't it amazing? Now I can have the wedding of my dreams. Christopher's family is going to be so impressed. We're talking about 100 guests, live string quartet, imported roses from Ecuador, using money from selling my home," I said slowly. Stephany waved dismissively. "You can buy another apartment anytime. You make tons of money. Besides, this is once in a lifetime. You'll always be my sister, but I'll only get married once." I looked at their faces on the screen. Mom beaming with pride, Dad nodding along like he'd just solved world hunger, and Stephany glowing with self-satisfaction. Not one of them showed even a flicker of guilt or concern for what they'd just told me. "How exactly did you manage to sell property that's in my name?" I asked, my voice deadly calm. Dad cleared his throat. "Well, we may have handled some of the paperwork ourselves. You know how these things work. Family helping family. You forged my signature." "That's such an ugly way to put it," Mom said, her voice taking on that wounded tone she used whenever anyone questioned her behavior. "We're family, Jennifer. We look out for each other." I forced my expression into neutral territory, years of corporate negotiations teaching me to hide my emotions. "Congratulations, Stephany. I'm sure it'll be beautiful." "I knew you'd understand." Stephany clapped her hands. "You're the best big sister ever." "I have to go," I said, my finger hovering over the disconnect button. "Work calls." "Of course, honey," Mom said. "We love you." I ended the call and sat in the silence of my office, staring at my reflection in the black screen. They thought they'd played me perfectly, the responsible daughter who'd swallow this betrayal with a smile and maybe even send a wedding gift. They had no idea what they'd just unleashed. I picked up my phone and scrolled to a contact I hadn't called in months. Ruth Clark answered on the second ring. "Jennifer? What's wrong?" "Ruth, I need an emergency consultation," I said, my voice steady as steel. "And this time it's personal." If this story is already making your blood boil, like this video and subscribe to our channel, because what my family did next will shock you, and how I made them pay for it will leave you speechless. Ruth Clark picked up on the first ring, her voice sharp with concern. "Jennifer, it's almost midnight. What's happened?" "My parents just told me they sold my apartment to pay for Stephany's wedding," I said, pacing my office. "They forged my signature and spent the money already." "Jesus Christ, how much are we talking about?" "They said $60,000 so far, just on deposits." I pulled up my laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. "Ruth, I need you to tell me exactly how illegal this is." "Extremely. Identity theft, fraud, forgery. Jennifer, this is felony territory. Are you recording this conversation?" "I am now." I switched to speaker and opened my recording app, and I screenshot the entire FaceTime call. They confessed to everything. Ruth's lawyer voice kicked in. "Good, save everything. Don't delete anything. What exactly did they say?" I replayed the conversation word for word, watching Ruth's expression grow darker through our video call. When I finished, she was shaking her head. "They used your credit history to get better terms on the sale, didn't they?" My blood ran cold. "How did you know?" "Because that's how these family fraud cases usually work. They've probably been monitoring your credit report for months, waiting for the right opportunity." Ruth pulled up something on her computer. "Jennifer, this wasn't impulsive. This was planned." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "Honey, we're so excited. Here are photos from the venue deposit today." The images showed my parents beaming at some country club, holding a receipt for $25,000. Dad was giving a thumbs up. Mom had captioned it, "Dreams coming true for our baby girl." "They're celebrating," I said, showing Ruth the photos. "They're actually celebrating stealing from me." "Screenshot those immediately." My phone buzzed again. This time it was Stephany posting Instagram stories from what looked like a bridal boutique. "Dress shopping with Mom. So grateful for family who make dreams possible. Blessed bride family. Love dream wedding." The next story showed her trying on a dress that probably cost more than most people's cars. "When your family believes in your happiness, can't wait to marry my prince." Ruth watched me scroll through the posts. She's documenting everything. This is actually helpful for our case. Our case? Jennifer, they've committed multiple felonies. The question isn't whether we can prosecute, it's whether you want to. I stared at Stephany's glowing face on my phone screen. She looked genuinely happy, completely unburdened by the fact that her joy was built on theft. "Let me call them back first. I need to understand exactly what they've done." I dialed home. Mom answered immediately. "Jennifer, I was hoping you'd call back. Isn't this exciting?" "Mom, I need you to walk me through exactly what happened with the sale." "Oh, it was so simple. Your father handled most of the paperwork. We found a lovely young couple who were desperate for a downtown place. They paid cash, which was perfect because Stephany needed the money right away for deposits." "How did you handle the paperwork when my name is on the deed?" "Well, we've been handling your affairs for years, honey. We have copies of your signature from all those documents you've sent us. It wasn't difficult." My hands clenched into fists. "You forged my signature." "Don't be such a drama queen," Stephany's voice cut in. She'd grabbed the phone. "Jen, you can buy another apartment when you get back from whatever business trip you're on. This wedding is once in a lifetime." And my home was once in a lifetime too. But apparently that doesn't matter. "God, you're being so selfish. Do you know how much Christopher's family is worth? This wedding is an investment in our future. You should be happy for me." Mom took the phone back. "Don't be selfish, honey. Family helps family. You've always been so good at solving problems." "By stealing my property?" "We prefer to think of it as creative financing," Dad's voice chimed in. "Besides, you're never there. That apartment was just sitting empty while Stephany needed help with her future." I closed my eyes, forcing my voice to stay level. "How much have you spent so far?" "Well, the venue was $25,000. The catering deposit was $15,000. Flowers were $8,000. Mom's voice grew more excited with each number. "Oh, and Stephany found the most beautiful dress. It was only $6,000 marked down from $12,000. That's $54,000. Plus the photographer, the string quartet, and the cake tasting," Stephany added cheerfully. "We're at about $62,000 now, but it's going to be absolutely magical." Ruth was frantically taking notes, her expression growing more incredulous by the minute. "And you've already paid all of this?" "Of course. We couldn't risk losing the vendors. June weddings book up so fast," Mom said. "The venue required full payment up front for premium dates." "Most of it's non-refundable," Dad added proudly. "We got better deals that way." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "When did you start planning this?" "Oh, we've been working on it since Christmas," Mom said. "We knew Stephany would get engaged soon. Christopher's been asking your father's permission for months. We wanted to be ready to give her the wedding she deserves." "You've been planning to sell my apartment since Christmas?" "We've been planning to help our daughter," Dad corrected. "We just had to wait for the right moment when you were out of town and couldn't complicate things with unnecessary worry." Unnecessary worry. About my own home being stolen. "I have to go," I said. "Wait," Stephany grabbed the phone again. "I'm sending you the wedding invitation mock-up. You're going to love it. The theme is Enchanted Garden and—" I hung up. Ruth stared at me through the video call. "Jennifer, they've been planning this for 6 months. They waited until you were out of state. They've spent over $60,000 on non-refundable deposits. This is premeditated fraud." My phone buzzed with an email from Mom. The subject line read, "Thank you for making Stephany's dreams come true." Inside was a digital wedding invitation mock-up featuring Stephany and Christopher surrounded by roses. At the bottom, in elegant script, "Celebration made possible by the love and generosity of the Blakes family." "They're thanking me," I said, my voice hollow. "They're actually thanking me for letting them steal from me." "What do you want to do?" I looked at my reflection in the dark window of my office. For 29 years, I'd been the responsible one, the problem solver, the family ATM. I'd swallowed every slight, every assumption that my money and my life were available for their use. But this wasn't just taking advantage of my generosity. This was theft. This was betrayal. This was 6 months of planning to steal my home while smiling to my face. "I want to know exactly what legal options we have," I said. "All of them." "I'll start drafting paperwork tonight. But Jennifer, once we start this process, there's no going back. Your family will face serious criminal charges." I thought about Stephany's glowing face in that wedding dress, about my parents' proud smiles as they spent my money, about the casual way they dismissed my feelings. "Good," I said. "It's time they learned that actions have consequences." But as I hung up, I realized Ruth didn't know the full story yet. She didn't know about the LLC. She didn't know about the mortgage payments. She didn't know that my family had just tried to steal from someone who'd been keeping them afloat for years. They thought they'd outsmarted me. They had no idea they'd just declared war on the person who'd been their anonymous benefactor all along. And tomorrow, they were going to start learning exactly what that meant. "Ruth, before we go any further, there's something I need to tell you about that apartment," I said, pulling up my laptop's financial software. "Something my family doesn't know." "What do you mean?" "The apartment isn't actually in my name. It's owned by Blake's Holdings, LLC. I shared my screen, showing Ruth the corporate documents. "I set up the LLC 3 years ago specifically to protect my assets from exactly this kind of situation." Ruth's eyes widened as she scanned the documents. "Jennifer, if the apartment is owned by your LLC, then your parents didn't just commit identity theft and fraud. They attempted to sell corporate property without authorization. That's commercial theft. It gets worse." I opened another folder on my desktop. "Ruth, I need you to sit down for this next part." I'm already sitting. "I've been anonymously paying my parents' mortgage for 3 years, $2,400 every month, transferred from a shell account so they'd never know it was me." Ruth's jaw dropped. "You've been paying their mortgage? Jennifer, that's—" $86,400. I finished, plus interest, plus the property taxes I've been covering, plus the homeowner's insurance. Call it $90,000 total. Why didn't you tell them? I leaned back in my chair, remembering the decision I'd made 3 years ago. Because I knew this would happen. I knew that if they realized I was supporting them, they'd start seeing my money as their money. So I set up the payments to look like they were coming from some kind of mortgage assistance program. And they never questioned it? They think they qualified for some government program for middle-class families affected by the recession. Dad even brags about it at neighborhood barbecues, how he worked the system to get help with their payments. Ruth was frantically taking notes. Jennifer, this changes everything. They've been living off your charity while planning to steal from you. The level of betrayal here is staggering, I finished. But here's the thing, Ruth. They don't know any of this yet. As far as they're concerned, they successfully sold my apartment and I'm just going to accept it. What are you thinking? I pulled up my banking app and showed Ruth the automatic payment scheduled for tomorrow morning. I'm thinking it's time to stop the mortgage payments and let them figure out where that money was really coming from. You want to let their house go into foreclosure? I want them to face the natural consequences of their choices. They stole from me because they thought I was weak, that I'd just absorbed this betrayal like I've absorbed everything else. They're about to learn how wrong they were. Ruth studied the documents on her screen. Okay, let's think through this strategically. We have multiple angles of attack here. First, the apartment sale is completely invalid because they don't own the property. Second, we can file criminal charges for identity theft, fraud, and attempted theft of corporate assets. Third, we can stop the mortgage payments and let them scramble to figure out how to cover $2,400 a month they didn't know they needed. There's more, I said, opening another bank account. I haven't just been paying their mortgage. Ruth looked at me expectantly. Stephany's car payment, $350 a month for the past 2 years. Her credit card minimums, usually around $400 monthly. Her student loan payments, $275 a month. I scrolled through the automatic payments. Oh, and her health insurance, $220 monthly since she aged out of their plan. Jesus Christ, Jennifer. How much are you paying for your family every month? I did the math quickly. Between the mortgage, Stephany's expenses, and the occasional emergency transfers when they text me about unexpected bills, probably $3,500 to $4,000 monthly. That's $42,000 to $48,000 a year, and they repaid me by stealing my home. I felt that cold fury settling deeper in my chest. Ruth, when I stop all these payments tomorrow, they're going to go from thinking they're financially stable to facing financial ruin in about 30 days. The mortgage payment alone will trigger a late fee if it's more than 15 days overdue. And Stephany's car will get a repossession notice if she misses 2 payments. I pulled up her Instagram again. She'd posted another story from the bridal boutique, this time showing off jewelry. Look at this. She's picking out a tiara that costs more than most people make in a month, completely oblivious to the fact that her entire lifestyle is subsidized by the sister she just helped rob. Ruth was quiet for a moment, processing everything. Jennifer, this is going to destroy them financially. Good. Maybe they'll finally understand the value of what they threw away. My phone buzzed with a text from Dad. Honey, we just wanted to say thank you again for being so understanding about the apartment. We know Stephany's wedding is going to be beautiful, and it means the world to us that you're supporting her dreams. Love you. I showed the text to Ruth. They're thanking me for being understanding about them stealing from me. This is sociopathic behavior. It's entitlement. They've gotten so used to my money solving their problems that they genuinely believe they're entitled to it. I opened my email and started typing. I'm going to send them a thank you card of my own. What are you going to say? Nothing that will tip them off, just something that will look really interesting in hindsight. I typed quickly, Mom and Dad, thank you for showing me exactly where I stand in this family. Your honesty about your priorities has been incredibly enlightening. I'm looking forward to seeing how everything works out. Love, Jennifer." That's ominous. It's honest. I hit send and then opened my banking app. "Ruth, I want you to walk me through exactly what happens when I stop these payments." "Well, the mortgage payment will trigger a late notice after 15 days, then a formal default notice after 30 days. Stephany's car payment will generate a late fee immediately, then a repossession warning after 30 days. Credit cards will start charging late fees and penalty interest rates. And they'll have no idea why everything is suddenly falling apart. Not until they start getting the notices. Then they'll probably call you in a panic." I thought about that for a moment. No, they won't call me in a panic. They'll call me expecting me to fix it. They'll assume I'll just pay whatever needs to be paid to make the problem go away. And when you don't, then they'll learn what it feels like to face consequences for their actions. I pulled up the LLC documents again. "Ruth, I want to file an injunction to stop the apartment sale immediately. I want criminal charges filed for identity theft and attempted theft of corporate property. And I want to do it all while they're still celebrating their clever solution. This is going to get ugly fast. It's already ugly. They made it ugly when they decided to steal from me." I looked at Stephany's latest Instagram post, a photo of her and Christopher at some expensive restaurant captioned, "Celebrating our future. So grateful for family who believe in love." "Ruth, there's one more thing they don't know," I said, pulling up another bank account I hadn't shown her yet. "What now?" "I haven't just been paying their mortgage and Stephany's bills. I've been covering their property taxes, their homeowner's insurance, and their HOA fees. Plus, I've been the one paying for their family cell phone plan, their streaming services, and their car insurance." Ruth stared at me. "How much money are we talking about total?" I pulled up a spreadsheet I'd been maintaining for 3 years. In total, over the past 3 years, I've transferred or paid on their behalf approximately $137,000. $137,000. And they just stole my apartment to throw a party. I felt something shift inside me, a cold clarity I'd never experienced before. "Ruth, when I stop all these payments tomorrow, they're not just going to face financial difficulty. They're going to face complete financial collapse." "Jennifer, are you sure you want to do this? Once we start, there's no going back." I looked at my reflection in the dark window again. For 3 years, I'd been their anonymous guardian angel, protecting them from the consequences of their financial irresponsibility. I'd sacrificed my own financial goals, delayed buying a house, postponed vacations, all to keep them comfortable, and they'd repaid me by stealing my home. "I'm sure," I said. "It's time they learned what financial reality looks like without me protecting them from it." "Okay, I'll start drafting the legal paperwork tonight. Injunction to stop the sale, criminal complaints for identity theft and fraud, and a civil suit for recovery of damages." How long before they realize what's happening? "The mortgage payment is due in 5 days. If you stop the automatic payment tonight, they'll get a late notice in about 2 weeks. Stephany's car payment is due next week. She'll get a late fee notice within days of missing it." I smiled for the first time since this nightmare began. So they'll have about 2 weeks of thinking they got away with it before their world starts falling apart. "Jennifer, there's something else we need to discuss. When this all comes out, when they realize you've been supporting them financially for years, they're going to feel humiliated, exposed, furious." I nodded. "Good. Maybe for the first time in their lives, they'll understand what it feels like to be vulnerable." Ruth was quiet for a moment. "Are you prepared for the possibility that this destroys your relationship with them permanently?" I thought about that question seriously. Was I prepared to lose my family? Then I remembered Dad's casual dismissal. "You're never there anyway." Mom's manipulation. Family helps family. Stephany's entitlement. You can buy another apartment anytime. Ruth, they destroyed our relationship the moment they decided to steal from me. I'm just making sure they face the consequences. All right, let's do this. Actually, Ruth, there's one more thing they don't know, I said, pulling up yet another account. Ruth looked at me with a mixture of admiration and horror. What now? I haven't just been covering Stephany's car payments, credit cards, and student loans. I scrolled through another set of automatic payments. I've been paying for her gym membership, her Netflix account, her Spotify Premium, her monthly massage therapy, and her weekly grocery delivery service. Ruth just stared at me. When I stop those payments tomorrow, they're going to learn what financial reality actually looks like. The first domino fell on a Tuesday morning. I was reviewing client presentations in my Chicago office when my phone buzzed with a text from Dad. Honey, there seems to be some kind of banking error. Our mortgage payment didn't go through. Can you give us a call when you get a chance? I screenshot the message and kept working. 20 minutes later, another text. Jennifer, this is urgent. The bank is saying our account doesn't have enough funds, but that's impossible. We've never missed a payment. Screenshot. Back to work. By lunch, I had 6 missed calls and a voicemail from Mom. Jennifer, sweetheart, something very strange is happening. Our mortgage payment bounced, and now Stephany is saying her car payment didn't go through either. There must be some kind of computer glitch affecting multiple accounts. Can you call us back? We're getting worried. I saved the voicemail and ordered a salad. The afternoon brought escalation. Stephany's first text arrived at 2:15. Jen, something weird is happening with my car payment. It bounced and now they're saying I owe late fees. Can you call me? By 3 o'clock. Jen, seriously, where are you? My credit card payment bounced too and they're threatening to charge penalty interest. This is so embarrassing. By 4. Jennifer, answer your phone. Something is seriously wrong and I need your help figuring this out. I was in a client meeting when my phone started buzzing incessantly. I glanced down to see Stephany calling for the 7th time in an hour. I declined the call and continued my presentation about quarterly revenue projections. When the meeting ended at 5:30, I had 23 missed calls and a string of increasingly frantic messages. Dad's voicemail from 4:15. Jennifer, honey, this isn't just a banking error anymore. Our mortgage payment bounced, Stephany's car payment bounced, her credit cards are being declined, and now the bank is saying we're going to get hit with late fees. Something is very wrong here. Please call us back immediately. Mom's text from 4:45. Jennifer, I'm starting to panic. The mortgage company called and said if we don't make the payment, plus late fees by Friday, they're starting foreclosure proceedings. This has to be identity theft or some kind of cyber attack. Please call us. Stephany's voicemail from 5 o'clock. Her voice shaking. Jen, I'm freaking out. My car payment bounced, my credit cards are maxed out, my student loan payment failed, and now I'm getting calls from collection agencies. Mom is having a panic attack and Dad is yelling at the bank people. Something terrible is happening and we need your help. I sat in my office watching the sun set over Chicago and felt a strange sense of calm. For 3 years, I'd been their invisible safety net. Now they were learning what it felt like to fall. My phone rang again. This time, it was a number I didn't recognize. Hello, is this Jennifer Blake's? The voice was professional but strained. Yes, who is this? This is Tashina Asher from Enchanted Events. I'm the wedding planner for your sister Stephany's wedding. I sat up straighter. What can I do for you, Tashina? Ms. Blake's, I'm in a very difficult situation. Your parents paid deposits for your sister's wedding, but now several vendors are calling me saying their final payments have been declined. The florist, the caterer, the string quartet, they're all threatening to cancel unless they receive payment immediately. I see. Your mother gave me your number and said you handle the family's financial affairs. She said there's been some kind of banking error. But Ms. Blake's, I have to be honest, I've seen this before. When multiple payments from the same family start bouncing, it's usually not a banking error. I felt a pang of sympathy for Tashina. She was caught in the middle of my family's financial collapse through no fault of her own. How much money are we talking about? I asked. $43,000 in final payments due within the next 2 weeks. If these payments don't go through, I'm going to lose my deposits with the vendors, and my business reputation will be destroyed. Tashina, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Did my parents tell you where the money for these deposits came from? There was a pause. They said they sold some property to fund the wedding. Your mother mentioned it was a family investment property that wasn't being used. Did they mention whose property it was? Another pause, longer this time. Ms. Blakes, is there something I should know? The property they sold was my apartment. They forged my signature and sold it without my knowledge or consent. Oh my God. Tashina, I'm very sorry you're caught up in this, but the money they used for those deposits was stolen from me. I'm currently working with attorneys to void the sale and file criminal charges. Ms. Blakes, if those deposits were made with stolen money, I could lose my business license. The vendors will sue me for the money they're owed. The weight of collateral damage hit me. Tashina was going to suffer because of my family's crimes, and there was nothing I could do to protect her without rewarding their theft. I'm truly sorry, I said, but I can't pay for a wedding funded by stealing my home. After I hung up, my phone immediately started ringing again. Stephany's name flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. Jen, where are you? The wedding venue is freaking out about payment, and Mom is having a panic attack. The florist just called and said they're canceling our order unless we pay them $22,000 by tomorrow. Call me now. The calls kept coming. By 6 o'clock, I had 37 missed calls. By 7, it was 47. Dad's voicemail from 6:30. Jennifer, this is beyond a banking error now. Someone has clearly hacked our accounts or stolen our identities. We need you to help us figure out what's happening. The mortgage company is threatening foreclosure. Stephany's car is going to be repossessed, and now the wedding vendors are all demanding money we don't have. Please, honey, we need your help. Mom's text from 7:15. Jennifer, I don't understand what's happening. For 3 years, we've never had money problems. Our mortgage payments always went through automatically. Stephany never had issues with her bills. Everything was stable. Now suddenly everything is falling apart at once. Please call us back. We're desperate. I stared at that text for a long time. For 3 years, we've never had money problems. They genuinely had no idea that their financial stability had been entirely dependent on my anonymous support. Stephany's latest voicemail was barely coherent. Jen, I'm crying so hard I can barely talk. Christopher is asking all these questions about our family's finances, and I don't know what to tell him. The wedding planner says vendors are threatening to sue her if we don't pay them. Mom locked herself in the bathroom and won't come out. Dad is on the phone with the bank screaming at them about computer errors. Everything is falling apart and I don't understand why. Please call me back. At 8 o'clock, my phone rang with yet another unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Ms. Blakes, this is Christopher Fox, Stephany's fiancé. My blood ran cold. Hello, Christopher. Ms. Blakes, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Is your family in serious financial trouble? Why are you asking? Because nothing adds up. Your parents claim they sold an investment property to fund this wedding, but when I asked to see the paperwork, they got evasive. Stephany says she's never had money problems, but today her car payment bounced. Her credit cards were declined, and she's getting calls from collection agencies. I waited for him to continue. But here's what really doesn't make sense. Your parents have been bragging for months about how they qualified for some government program that covers their mortgage payments. They said it was because your dad lost his job during the recession and they qualified for assistance. Christopher. Ms. Blakes, I work in finance. I know what government mortgage assistance programs look like, and I know what they don't look like. The payments your parents have been receiving aren't from any government program I've ever seen. My heart started pounding. I think someone in your family has been paying their bills for years, and I think that person just stopped. And I think there's something about your family's finances that you need to know. What do you mean? Ms. Blakes, I've been quietly investigating your family's financial situation for the past 2 months because some things Stephany told me didn't add up, and what I found is going to shock you. Christopher, what did you find? Your parents aren't just financially irresponsible. They're financially fraudulent, and it's worse than you think. Drop a comment below. Would you have answered those 47 calls, or would you have done exactly what Jennifer did? Because trust me, this is just the beginning. Christopher, what exactly did you find? I asked, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Can we do a video call? I have documents I need to show you. 5 minutes later, Christopher's face appeared on my laptop screen. He looked exhausted, his usually perfect hair disheveled, his tie loosened. Ms. Blakes, I need to show you something. He held up a stack of papers. I've been tracking your family's spending patterns for 2 months, and I found some very disturbing inconsistencies. What kind of inconsistencies? Your parents have been living far beyond their means for years. Your father's salary as a middle school principal is $62,000 annually. Your mother works part-time at a boutique making maybe $15,000 a year. Together, they gross about $77,000. Okay, but their annual expenses are over $120,000. Mortgage, property taxes, insurance, utilities, groceries, entertainment, Stephany's support. It doesn't add up. Someone has been subsidizing their lifestyle. I said nothing. Ms. Blakes, I think that someone is you, and I think they've been lying to you about how they're using your money. Before I could respond, my phone started ringing. It was a FaceTime call from home with all 3 of them listed as participants. Christopher, I need to take this call. Can you stay on the line? Absolutely. I answered the FaceTime call. 3 panicked faces filled my screen. Mom with red, swollen eyes, Dad looking haggard and desperate, and Stephany practically hyperventilating. Jennifer, Mom's voice was shrill. Thank God you finally answered. Something terrible is happening to us. What's going on? I asked, my voice carefully neutral. Everything is falling apart, Dad said, his usual jovial demeanor completely gone. Our mortgage payment bounced. Stephany's bills are all being declined. The wedding vendors are threatening to cancel. It's like someone is sabotaging our accounts. We think it's identity theft, Stephany added, her voice shaking. Someone must have hacked our bank accounts and stolen all our money. I looked at their faces. Genuine panic, real fear, complete bewilderment. They truly had no idea what was happening to them. That's terrible, I said. Have you called the police? We called the bank first, Dad said. They said all the payments that have been automatically covering our bills for the past 3 years just stopped, like someone canceled them all at once. What payments? I asked. Mom wiped her eyes. Well, we've been getting help with our mortgage through some kind of assistance program. And Stephany qualified for help with her car payments and student loans through some financial aid program for young adults. What kind of programs? We're not exactly sure, Dad admitted. The payments just started coming 3 years ago. We figured we qualified for some kind of government assistance after I had that brief unemployment period. You never investigated where the money was coming from? Why would we? Stephany said. We qualified for help, so we accepted it. Lots of families get assistance. I felt Christopher watching me through the other screen, his expression growing more incredulous by the minute. Jennifer, we need your help, Mom said, her voice breaking. We don't know what to do. If we can't make the mortgage payment by Friday, they're starting foreclosure proceedings. Stephany's car is going to be repossessed. The wedding vendors are demanding $43,000, or they're canceling everything. We're family, Dad added desperately. Families help each other through difficult times. Something inside me snapped. When's the last time you helped me, Dad? What? When's the last time any of you asked how I was doing, or if I needed anything, or even thanked me for the money I've been sending you? Silence. When's the last time you called me just to see how I was, not because you needed something? More silence. That silence is your answer. I was never your daughter. I was your solution. Jennifer, what are you talking about? Mom asked. I shared my screen, pulling up my banking records. I'm talking about the $86,400 I've paid toward your mortgage over the past 3 years. Their faces went white. I'm talking about the $25,200 I've paid for Stephany's car. Stephany's mouth fell open. I'm talking about the $14,400 I've paid toward her credit cards, the $9,900 for her student loans, the $7,920 for her health insurance. Jennifer, Dad started. I'm not finished. I pulled up another spreadsheet. Property taxes, homeowners insurance, HOA fees, cell phone bills, streaming services, car insurance, $137,000 over 3 years. You? Mom whispered. Me, the daughter you just stole from to throw a party. We didn't know, Stephany began. You didn't want to know. You were perfectly happy accepting mysterious payments as long as they kept you comfortable. You never questioned where the money came from because you felt entitled to it. Jennifer, we can explain, Dad said. Explain what? How you forged my signature? How you sold my apartment without my knowledge? How you spent $62,000 of stolen money on wedding deposits? We were going to tell you. When? After the wedding? After you'd spent all the money and it was too late for me to do anything about it? Mom was crying now. We're family, Jennifer. We made a mistake, but we're still family. Family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't lie to each other. And family doesn't take someone's generosity and repay it with betrayal. What do you want us to do? Stephany asked, her voice small. I want you to face the consequences of your choices. I want you to learn what it's like to be financially responsible for yourselves. I want you to understand that actions have consequences. You're going to let us lose our house? Dad asked. You're going to lose your house because you can't afford it without my subsidies. You're going to lose it because instead of living within your means, you chose to steal from me. What about my wedding? Stephany whispered. What about my home? I shot back. What about the apartment you sold without my permission? What about the life you disrupted for your party? We can fix this, Mom said desperately. We can return the money. With what money? You've spent it all on non-refundable deposits. You can't return money you don't have. Then what do you want from us? Dad asked. I want you to stop calling me. I want you to stop texting me. I want you to stop expecting me to solve your problems. You made your choice when you decided to steal from me. Now live with it. Jennifer, please, Stephany started. You're not my family anymore. Family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't lie to each other. And family doesn't take someone's generosity and repay it with betrayal. I'm done. I ended the call and immediately blocked all their numbers. For the first time in 3 years, my phone was silent. I looked at Christopher, still waiting on the other screen. His expression was a mixture of shock and admiration. Ms. Blakes, he said quietly, I think you just saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life. What do you mean? I was about to marry into a family of thieves and liars. Thank you for showing me who they really are. I turned off my phone completely and sat in the silence of my Chicago apartment. For the first time in years, I felt the weight of obligation lift from my shoulders. I was free. The explosion started at 3 a.m. I woke up to my phone buzzing incessantly with notifications. Even though I'd blocked my family's numbers, the alerts were coming from social media platforms, news apps, and email. Stephany had posted a 27-part Instagram story rant. I sat up in bed and started reading, screenshotting each frame as I went. I can't believe I have to explain this, but my sister has literally destroyed my life out of pure jealousy. She's always been bitter that I'm getting married, and she's still single at 29. She lied to my fiancé and told him our family was financially irresponsible when we've been perfectly fine managing our money for years. Now she's refusing to help with my wedding because she's mad that our parents sold an apartment she never even used to help fund my special day. She's been ignoring our calls for days while our family faces financial ruin because of her lies and manipulation. My car is being repossessed, my parents might lose their house, and my wedding is canceled because my own sister decided to destroy our family. She told vendors that our deposit money was stolen when it came from a legitimate property sale. Now they're threatening to sue us. I'm sharing this because people need to know what kind of person Jennifer Blakes really is. She works at Morrison & Associates in Chicago, and she's using her money to control and manipulate our entire family. If you know Jennifer Blakes, please share this story. She needs to face consequences for what she's done to us. The comments started immediately. Wait, they sold your apartment without permission? That's literally theft. Girl, your sister has been paying your bills and you're mad at her? This is the most entitled thing I've ever read. Your sister doesn't owe you a wedding. Screenshot this before she deletes it. This is insane. By morning, Stephany's rant had been screenshot and shared across Twitter, TikTok, and Reddit. The hashtag #EntitledBride was trending. My phone rang at 7 a.m. It was Ruth Clark. Jennifer, have you seen the news? What news? Channel 7 picked up Stephany's social media meltdown. They're calling it Wedding Fraud Scandal Rocks Suburban Family. You need to see this. I turned on the local news. There was Stephany's Instagram photo on screen while the anchor read her posts verbatim. The story has sparked outrage online, with thousands of people supporting the unnamed sister who allegedly discovered her family had forged her signature to sell her apartment. Legal experts say this could constitute multiple felonies. My phone rang again. Unknown number. Ms. Blakes, this is Detective Martinez with the Fraud Division. We need to speak with you about a complaint filed by your parents. What kind of complaint? They've accused you of harassment, financial manipulation, and making false statements to vendors about their wedding payments. However, after reviewing the evidence you provided to the district attorney's office, we're opening a fraud investigation against them instead. I never wanted it to go this far, Detective. I just wanted them to face consequences for what they did. Ms. Blakes, identity theft and fraud are serious crimes. Your parents forged legal documents and stole property worth over $200,000. This isn't about family drama anymore. The story exploded over the next 48 hours. Local news became national news. The Reddit thread about Stephany's meltdown hit the front page with over 80,000 upvotes. Christopher Fox posted his own statement on social media. After discovering fundamental dishonesty about finances and family dynamics, I am ending my engagement to Stephany Blakes. I cannot build a future with someone whose family operates through deception and theft. The comments on his post were overwhelmingly supportive. You dodged a bullet, man. Imagine finding out your in-laws are criminals after the wedding. Smart move. If they'll steal from family, they'll steal from anyone. Wedding planner Tashina Asher was interviewed by 3 different news outlets, explaining how she'd been caught in the middle of the fraud. I've been in this business for 15 years, and I've never seen anything like this. The family used stolen money for deposits, then expected the sister they stole from to cover the final payments. When she refused, they tried to blame her for ruining the wedding. Other families started coming forward with similar stories. A support group for financial abuse victims invited me to speak at their next meeting. Your story is giving people courage to speak up about their own experiences, the organizer told me. Family financial abuse is more common than people realize, but victims rarely report it because they feel guilty about betraying family members. The police investigation moved quickly. Within a week, my parents were arrested at their home. The local news showed them being led away in handcuffs while neighbors watched from their yards. Dad's mugshot made the evening news. Mom's was shared thousands of times on social media with captions like, "This is what entitlement looks like." I felt sick watching it. Ruth found me in my office that evening staring out at the Chicago skyline. "Having second thoughts?" she asked. "I keep thinking about Tashina. Her business is ruined because of this. She's facing lawsuits from vendors, her reputation is destroyed, and it's not her fault. Jennifer, Tashina is a victim too. Your parents victimized both of you. But if I had just paid the wedding vendors, then you would have rewarded theft. You would have taught your family that they can steal from you as long as they create enough collateral damage to make you feel guilty. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Ms. Blakes, this is Tashina Asher. I wanted you to know that I don't blame you for what happened. Your family put both of us in an impossible situation. I'm starting a new business focused on helping families navigate wedding finances honestly. Thank you for showing me that integrity matters more than profit. The legal proceedings moved forward relentlessly. My parents were charged with identity theft, fraud, forgery, and filing false police reports. The district attorney called it one of the most brazen cases of family financial abuse his office had ever prosecuted. Stephany's social media accounts were flooded with criticism. She eventually deleted everything and disappeared from the internet entirely. The public response was overwhelmingly supportive of my actions. Comments, news coverage, and legal experts all validated my decision to press charges. This young woman is a hero for exposing family financial abuse. She showed incredible strength in standing up to people who were supposed to protect her. More victims need to speak up like this. But late at night, alone in my apartment, I wondered if I'd gone too far. My parents were facing prison time. Stephany's life was completely destroyed. Tashina's business was ruined. Had justice been worth all this collateral damage? Then I remembered Dad's casual dismissal. You're never there anyway. Mom's manipulation. Family helps family. Stephany's entitlement. You can buy another apartment anytime. They had made their choices. I had simply refused to protect them from the consequences. The courtroom was packed on sentencing day. I sat in the front row watching my parents at the defendant's table. Dad looked smaller somehow, his usual confident posture replaced by hunched shoulders and nervous fidgeting. Mom kept dabbing at her eyes with tissues, occasionally glancing back at me with a mixture of hurt and anger. Stephany sat 3 rows behind them, flanked by 2 friends who'd driven down from college. She'd lost weight, her usually perfect hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, her designer clothes replaced by a simple black dress. Judge Harrison was a stern woman in her 60s who'd been hearing fraud cases for over 20 years. She'd reviewed all the evidence, read every document, and listened to hours of testimony over the past 3 months. Before I deliver sentencing, she said, I want to hear from the victim. Ms. Blakes, would you like to make a statement? I stood up, my legs shaky. I'd prepared for this moment, but facing my parents in court felt surreal. Your Honor, for 3 years, I anonymously supported my family financially. I paid their mortgage, their insurance, their bills. I covered my sister's car payments, credit cards, and living expenses. I did this out of love, asking for nothing in return. My voice grew stronger as I continued. They repaid my generosity by forging my signature and stealing my home. They didn't just commit fraud against me. They betrayed the most fundamental trust that should exist between family members. I looked directly at my parents. They've shown no remorse. Even now, they believe they were entitled to my money and my property. They've taught me that love without boundaries isn't love at all. It's exploitation. The financial damage is $137,000, but the emotional damage is immeasurable. They didn't just steal my money. They stole my ability to trust, to feel safe in my own family, to believe that my sacrifices mattered. I sat down, my hands trembling. Judge Harrison nodded solemnly. Mr. and Mrs. Blakes, please stand. My parents rose unsteadily. In 30 years on the bench, I have rarely seen such a calculated betrayal of family trust. You didn't just commit fraud against your daughter. You exploited her love and generosity for years, then repaid her kindness with theft. Dad started to speak, but the judge held up her hand. You forfeited any right to claim family loyalty when you chose to steal from the person who had been supporting you. Your daughter sacrificed her own financial goals to keep you comfortable, and you thanked her by forging her signature and stealing her home. Your Honor, Mom said, her voice breaking, we never meant for it to go this far. We just wanted to help our younger daughter. By stealing from your older daughter, by committing multiple felonies, by lying to vendors, banks, and ultimately to this court. Judge Harrison consulted her notes. Jerry Blakes, you are sentenced to 18 months in minimum security prison, followed by 3 years of probation. Ruth Blakes, you are sentenced to 12 months in prison, followed by 3 years of probation. Both of you will pay full restitution of $137,000 plus court costs and fees. Additionally, you are both prohibited from contacting the victim directly or indirectly for the duration of your probation. Stephany suddenly stood up in the gallery. This is ridiculous. They're my parents. Jennifer is destroying our family out of jealousy. Ma'am, sit down, Judge Harrison said firmly. No, this is all Jennifer's fault. She could have just helped with the wedding, but instead she chose to destroy our lives. Bailiff, please escort Ms. Blakes from the courtroom. You're all crazy if you think my parents are criminals. Jennifer is the one who... The bailiff took Stephany's arm and led her toward the exit. Her voice echoed through the courtroom as she was removed. This is all Jennifer's fault. She destroyed our family out of jealousy. Judge Harrison waited for the disruption to end, then continued. Mr. and Mrs. Blakes, your daughter Stephany's outburst demonstrates that this family still doesn't understand the gravity of what you've done. You didn't just commit crimes. You taught your children that theft is acceptable when it serves your purposes. Your Honor, Dad said desperately, we can make this right. We can pay Jennifer back. With what money? You've spent everything on non-refundable wedding deposits. You have no assets, no savings, and no way to make restitution except through the payment plan this court will establish. The judge's voice grew colder. You exploited your daughter's love for 3 years, then stole her home to throw a party. You showed no remorse until you were caught, and even now your family blames the victim for your crimes. This court finds that you pose a continued threat to your daughter's financial and emotional well-being. You will serve your sentences, pay full restitution, and have no contact with the victim. The gavel came down with finality. As my parents were led away in handcuffs, I felt a strange mixture of relief and sadness. Justice had been served, but at the cost of destroying what remained of my family. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited with cameras and microphones. Ms. Blakes, how do you feel about your parents' sentences? Do you regret pressing charges? What would you say to other victims of family financial abuse? I stopped at the microphones, thinking about Tashina, about the support group members who'd reached out, about all the people who'd shared their own stories of family exploitation. I would tell them that setting boundaries isn't cruel, even when people call it cruel. Your peace is worth more than their approval. And sometimes the only way to save yourself is to let others face the consequences of their choices. Do you regret destroying your family? I look back at the courthouse where my parents had just been sentenced for stealing from me. I didn't destroy my family. They destroyed it when they chose theft over honesty, manipulation over respect, and entitlement over love. Justice was served, but was it worth destroying her family? Let me know in the comments what you think about Jennifer's choices, because the aftermath is going to surprise you. 6 months later, I stood in the doorway of my old apartment for the last time. The space looked exactly the same. Hardwood floors gleaming in the afternoon sunlight, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Chicago, the kitchen island where I'd eaten countless takeout dinners while working late. But everything felt different now. Are you sure you want to sell it? Ruth asked, joining me in the empty living room. You fought so hard to get it back. I fought to prove it was mine, I said, running my hand along the granite countertop. But I don't want to live here anymore. Too many memories. The apartment had been legally returned to me after the fraud conviction, but I'd never moved back in. Instead, I'd been staying in a corporate housing unit while I figured out what came next. "Any regrets?" Ruth asked, quietly. I thought about that question seriously. Did I regret pressing charges? Did I regret watching my parents get sentenced to prison? Did I regret the complete destruction of my family? "I regret that it came to this," I said finally. "I regret that they chose theft over honesty, but I don't regret standing up for myself. For the first time in my life, I chose me over them." My phone buzzed with an email notification. Another message from someone who'd read about my story and wanted to share their own experience with family financial abuse. Over the past 6 months, I'd received hundreds of similar messages. People who'd been exploited by parents, siblings, spouses, people who'd been made to feel guilty for setting financial boundaries, people who'd been told that family helps family while being systematically drained of their resources. "Have you decided about the Denver opportunity?" Ruth asked. I nodded. "I'm taking it." Morrison & Associates had offered me a transfer to their Denver office, along with a promotion to senior consultant. But more importantly, I'd been invited to join the board of the National Family Financial Abuse Prevention Foundation. "It feels right," I said, using my experience to help other people recognize and escape these situations. "What about your parents?" "They'll be eligible for parole in 8 months." I looked out the window at the city I'd called home for 7 years. They made their choice. I've made mine. The restitution payments had started coming monthly, small amounts deducted from their prison wages and sent to an account I'd set up for other financial abuse victims. It would take them decades to pay back what they'd stolen, but at least the money would help people in similar situations. Stephany had moved to California, as far from the scandal as she could get. She'd changed her name on social media and was apparently working at a coffee shop while trying to rebuild her life. Christopher had sent me a thank you card 6 months ago, saying I'd saved him from the biggest mistake of his life. "Ready to go?" Ruth asked. I took one last look around the apartment that had started this whole nightmare, the space that my parents had stolen, that had forced me to finally see my family clearly, that had ultimately set me free. Ready. 3 weeks later, I was sitting in my new Denver apartment, video calling with a woman named Sarah whose brother had been stealing from her retirement account for 2 years. "I keep thinking I should just let it go," Sarah said, tears streaming down her face. "He's family. Maybe I'm being too harsh." "Sarah, let me ask you something. If a stranger had stolen $23,000 from your retirement account, would you press charges?" "Of course." "Then why should your brother get different treatment? Why should family members be allowed to steal from you when strangers can't?" Because he's my brother, and you're his sister. That should have made you off limits for theft, not a more acceptable target." I watched Sarah process this, seeing the same realization I'd had 6 months ago. "Family isn't about blood or obligation," I continued. "It's about respect, honesty, and genuine care. When those things are gone, sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away." After the call ended, I sat on my balcony watching the sunset over the Rocky Mountains. My phone was quiet. No desperate calls from family members, no guilt-inducing texts, no emergencies that required my immediate financial intervention. For the first time in my adult life, I was truly free. My dating life had improved dramatically once I'd learned to set boundaries. I was seeing someone now, a teacher named Marcus who respected my independence and had never once asked me for money or favors. We were taking things slowly, building something based on mutual respect rather than need. I'd also developed genuine friendships for the first time, people who wanted to spend time with me because they enjoyed my company, not because they needed something from me. The victim advocacy work was fulfilling in ways I'd never expected. Every person I helped recognize financial abuse, every family that learned to set healthy boundaries, every victim who found the courage to press charges, It all felt like turning my trauma into purpose. Some people called me cruel for destroying my family. Let them. My peace was worth more than their approval. I'd learned that you can't save people who don't want to be saved. You can't love people into treating you with respect. And you can't sacrifice yourself indefinitely for people who see your generosity as weakness. My parents were still in prison. Stephany was still rebuilding her life in California. And I was finally, truly, completely free. The girl who'd been the family ATM was gone. In her place was a woman who knew her worth, who protected her boundaries, and who understood that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let people face the consequences of their choices. I was 30 years old, living in a new city, doing work that mattered, surrounded by people who valued me for who I was rather than what I could provide. And for the first time in my life, that was enough.